Hello, everyone, and welcome in. We have a lot to get to today, including the Von Miller injury. What does that mean for the season and our season predictions? Also, comparing the offense and the defense of the Titans and the Broncos and our predictions for the game. Welcome to the Mile High Roundtable. Well, hey there, everybody. How you doing?
Hi, how's it going?
I'm excited. This is our very first episode of the Mile High Roundtable.
Number one.
Number one, and like the news this week has been nuts. Like all through training camp, it's been just kind of add here, take away there, and now it's this person's hurt, this person's hurt. Holy crap, we're done forever. Oh my God, burn it down. Kind of
Right,
week.
right.
So obviously the big thing on everyone's minds right now, and it's been covered for the last couple of days, but not by us, and we're awesome, so we're going to cover it. The Von
Right.
Miller injury. What does it mean for the team for the year with Von Miller potentially being out for the entire year? Christy, what do you think?
It's a that's a hard one. I mean, it's hard for the team. It's not just about his playing. It's about the mentality of the team. So, I mean, there's no shoes that can fill Vaughn's spot, but somebody's gonna have to step up and take that role and be the leader that Vaughn is for the team. The play wise, I mean, that there's no other Vaughn, so it's next man up, and hopefully they can get it done.
I mean, do you think they're going to bring someone in or just kind of roll with what we got?
I think, I mean, you never know. They could wait and see, what happens, but
Right.
I think they're gonna go with what they have right now.
Which is Reed and Atachi,
Malik
right?
Reed and a ton, yeah,
Okay. Well, and I mean, you definitely have like, um, a different defense than we had last year. I mean, is
yeah.
that you would think that have with the additions on defense that we made this year, we would be able to at least fill the gap as far as an average linebacking court goes. I'm not talking like super elite defense, just able to get by with average linebacker.
Well, I mean, we when we played the Titans last season, I mean, Von Miller wasn't having his best season. I think during that game he got half a sack, and Chubb was already out by that time. So we dealt with who we had. I don't know who was filling that role, but they won. I mean, it was a blowout, 16-0, I think. So I mean, I think they'll be okay, and I guess Fangio he seems to believe that, you know, they're gonna step up and play. So
Who was filling that gap last year?
yeah, I can't remember.
I think it
Was it
was
was it
a
Reed?
mix of Atachu and Malik Reed. Yeah.
Yeah, it was those two, right?
Was it?
Yeah, it was those two.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
we had somebody else.
I did too.
No, it was basically them. But the Von Miller injury, it hurts this team a lot in terms of not just presence, but also leadership, because if you look back to 2015, right now, Von Miller is what DeMarcus Ware was to him back then. Von was the leader. Von was the guy that, got the defense humming. So with him gone, yeah, it sucks. It's a big loss for this defense, but it's not the end of the world. Okay. I think the defense is going to be just fine. Atachu has proven more than enough that he's worth the money that he got paid for and bringing him back. Malik Reed is still a little rusty around the edges, but he's working around that. I know he could have really used the games in preseason to get a better feeling of the edge rush and whatever. And to be honest with you, this is actually a pretty good chance for Demarcus Walker to make a name for himself and get that chance that he hasn't gotten the last 2 or 3 years he's been on the team. So right now, the not just the defense but the offense, the entire team has to rally together and get secure that playoff spot, so that hopefully if Denver gets to the playoffs, we can at least maybe see Von play in a game or two where the stakes are higher, but at least we know we could have him for that time period.
Yeah. Well, and Glenn, I know that you and I have been talking earlier today about all the people that are going nuts wanting trades.
Right.
bring some like Ryan Kerrigan's been a name. Trading to bring Ryan Kerrigan in. I mean, do you really think that's what we need to do?
Christy referenced it earlier. I think that we have to wait and see. If he's going to be coming back, we should be able to get some of the firepower and that we currently have and keep the ship afloat. One of the things about Kerrigan is you not only give up draft capital, you're paying him $11 million a year, which is essentially cutting into next year's cap, which is presently in the 175 range. And anything that we save, we can roll over. So I'd like to roll over as much as possible and really put us in a good position and not only sign some of the players that we have that are going to be free agents, but also to maybe poach some of the players that are going to be cap casualties. The other night when the Von injury happened, it literally was like someone died. I mean, it was just there was a depression.
It was crazy.
In this country, all across the United States, and you'd see it online and Twitter, and then there was that glimmer of hope that he. What's that?
Just the initial reactions of it.
Oh my gosh!
Going into 15 different, trade here, trade that, release him, release that.
He's played his last down.
Yeah.
But when you think about Von's off season, he gets COVID. He works his tail off and gets in the shape that, I think the Broncos posted a picture and and the caption was Von's quads have quads. And then his news conference when he talked about Jordan and Kobe Bryant and how he wanted to be a different type of leader. And so all these things showed that, wow, this is going to be a spectacular year. So when that got pulled away after the, being sick and then working so hard, it just was really, I was really disappointed for him. Yeah. I'm still holding out hope. I think we have solid players, and if Chubb his pitch count is solid where he doesn't further injure that knee but can contribute, I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, and
agreed.
Speaking of Chubb, because you and I had talked about this as well, do we worry that they're going to shove Chubb in faster than he should come in and get hurt even worse? Like me personally, I think they should leave Chubb off for a game, maybe put him in for a couple snaps, but have Atachu on one side and then have Reed on the other, and then just roll with those four linebackers. You got Atachu, you got Reed, and then you've got Josie Jewell and Johnson in the middle, and just roll with that for a game or two, and maybe give Chubb some snap counts, to get him, kind of back into things. Right. But let the backups kind of roll the linebacker to give them some time to recover.
Right.
That's agreed. And you know what? It's been made the point that I know, like you said, Ryan Kerrigan was the aforementioned person that they could probably pursue. But since Denver right now is trying to save money for the salary cap for next year, I can understand why they're kind of hesitant not pulling the trigger. And at this point, to me personally, I don't think it really matters who they bring in because they're only going to be seen as a rental. They're only going to be here because they need a body for either depth or, for rotation. Nobody's coming in to take over for Von. Nobody's coming in to try to fill in his shoes or to do everything that he is so good at doing for this team. They just need a body to help the rotation so that, they don't get tired out and to cover in case somebody gets injured. So Broncos country needs to keep that in mind because I have been seeing in comments on social media where they're comparing guys at like Cameron Wake and Clay Matthews, saying, oh, he's not Von and everything. And that's what they need to realize. Yeah, you don't need to be Von. You just need to come in and, do your job and yeah, there you go, Miller KC20, and not get hurt, and then just show up and do your job. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was, when you first hear that initial injury and how bad the injury was, it's like, oh, Von Miller's never going to play in a Denver Broncos uniform again, so we have to trade for this person. Well,
right.
You and Glenn had mentioned the $175 million for the cap, and that's the high end.
Mhm.
So I mean, you look at it, and depending on how much money the NFL or teams lose this year, it could go down to 125, 123 million.
Mhm.
I mean, if Denver decides that they or Von and the Broncos can't come to an agreement on a restructured contract, or they just decide to cut him because they can't afford the cap hit next year. Even if Von goes to free agency, with the 175 to 125 million cap, that's half the team's gone right there. They can't even afford it.
Right.
The team right now that has the most salary cap for next year is Denver. So hopefully they're smart enough to restructure his contract, maybe give him 10 million guaranteed and waive off the other 10 to 11 million that he's promised. That saves you 10 million in salary cap space right there. So I know that people are going nuts on Von never playing in a Broncos uniform again. I doubt it. I mean, I could see him. I could see there being a scenario where he doesn't play for Denver next year.
Right.
But I see more of a restructuring the contract and continuing that way.
I think Vaughn will want to make that happen as well. He's always said that he wants to retire a Bronco, so I think he'll work with Elway and get it done.
I agree.
Is there any better time to sign him than now?
I know, right?
In the next month or so, when he's injured, when there's uncertainty about his season, if they want to bring him back, wouldn't this be the time that you maybe do a 2-year contract, at a lower number, way lower, but it's going to be his best option. Like Mundungus said, it's we've got the money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
It could be a possibility.
we don't care if you're hurt or not. We want you here kind of contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, his injury that he has, they said that it's something, once it's fixed, it's fixed. So it shouldn't be something that's going to reoccur.
Yeah.
It's just weird injury. I've never heard of that.
It is,
before.
yeah. It's
And
Me
you got to
neither.
think that can't be comfortable with your tendon flipping over your ankle.
yeah.
Ugh.
Imagine
A freak accident, like they said, indeed, huh?
And of course, the last play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The very last play
and
of
like
practice.
a couple days before the first game of the season.
Mhm.
And then,
You know, if I-
and then today we had that other panic moment where, Cortland Sutton's hurt.
Yeah.
Well, thank God it's just an AC joint sprain. So, he's questionable for the game, but holy crap. If you added in a Cortland Sutton injury with a Von Miller injury, could you imagine the stuff that's going to be on fire in Denver when the game
yeah.
People
starts?
Broncos
would be
country would
flipping over
lose it.
cars. Yeah, they'd be flipping over cars, and Twitter would be afire saying that's the season, tank for Trevor, all this stupid stuff. But it's the thing that surprises me is that it's so easy to hit the panic button, but it's so hard to try to find a silver lining,
Calm
And-
down and think about it rationally.
Yeah, and I get it. Going back to what Glenn said when we found out about the Von Miller injury, I was with him. I felt like I couldn't do anything else during that day. I felt like I wanted to donate my own foot to help Von Miller. But we have to realize that this is something that if it didn't happen now, it could happen on Monday. It could happen mid-season. It could happen end of season. It could happen anytime. So injuries are a part of any sport, whether it's football or basketball or baseball, what have you. And right now, what's going to make Elway and Fangio and the front office earn their money is them trying to figure out how to piece a replacement or a plan together so that whatever ideals and goals they have for the season, they stay on track with that. They don't lose focus.
And injuries definitely do happen, but you're not necessarily used to devastating injuries happening at team practice.
Yeah, that's true.
Usually it's happening when they're getting hit by opposing players, and like with Sutton today, I think it's just snowballed. It's the the hype that being so excited for the season. we've rounded the corner. Vic's in his second year. Everybody loves him. And all of a sudden, Vaughn goes down. Our star receiver, who we all have high hopes for, all of a sudden dives on his own and has to be helped off the field. And it's like, oh my gosh, what else? Bubble wrap Drew, please. Just keep him hidden somewhere. Put him in Creevy's closet for 3 more days until the game.
Listen here.
But
the Creevy basement.
The room is bigger than a closet. It's at least a walk-in closet.
But just if I could just make one comment about Chubb, my one concern is not that the team won't cover for him. I think that they will have a pitch count, but he seems like the type, and he's definitely learned from Vaughn as almost like a big brother. Is that my concern is that he's going to try to personally do too much, and that he could aggravate the injury as a result of the effort he's putting in, and not so much as the amount of time that he's in there. So hopefully everybody has that conversation and, just let him get his feet wet. But I think we can make do without a full game or a half game from Chubb come Monday night.
Now, do we know whether it's like a re-aggravated ACL injury, or is it just like soreness in the joint, or what's the reason why he's...
They said
soreness?
It was just soreness, yeah.
Just soreness.
I think this is really the first time he's been able to really use it in a football sense, and it's going to be sore. So if they just watch him, I think mostly use him like it's a preseason game, and just have him a couple of snaps in
and see what you got to read and taught you.
Yeah.
Just enough to get the cutouts all excited.
Right. They should have.
Did you guys all get cutouts?
I did.
No, I didn't.
I did.
Christy, you did?
Yes, I had to.
What's the pose?
It's. Well, I'm not gonna do it.
Oh, you have to now.
I think it's just me. I think I'm just smiling. There were some options you could do with your hands,
But is it like a Mundungus Creevy smile, or is it like a Christy smile?
It's a Christy smile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Ouch.
So do they tell you where it's going to be, or how does it work?
I think that there was options. You could pay extra for it to be closer, or if you're like a celebrity, you automatically you get down front. But I didn't say where mine was going to be.
Unfair.
I'm probably in the south stands.
You should have said
you're there though.
You should have said I'm a host of Mile High Roundtable, and
right.
you would have been
right on the sidelines. You had Fangio's arm around you cut out.
Yeah.
With a bubble that says Vic Fangio is having the time of his life.
Okay, so we've covered the Von Miller injury. Honestly, I don't think we need to cover much more. There's nothing we can do about it. Mm-hmm. What do you think the season is going to play out like without Von Miller? Are we still talking 9-7, 10-6, 11-5, 12-4? How's the defense going to rank? Obviously this is going to put more pressure on the offense. They can't just kind of goof around for the first 3-4 weeks trying to figure stuff out. They have to come out of the bat swinging.
Well, and that's another thing. I didn't want to see so much pressure being put on Drew so early, just because it's almost like it's his first season, really. So, he doesn't really need that, but it's got handed to him that way. I don't know. I think they'll do fine. I don't want to change my prediction. I don't feel like that's right. But
yeah, I'm with you, Christy. I'm not changing my prediction either. I think they're still going to be double digits because this offense is going to be great, whether Von Miller is there or not. And I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I'm just trying to say that this is the season where the offense have to make a statement, and whether it doesn't really matter who's really playing on defense. I trust Fangio's scheme, and so far Fangio has shown that he can take almost anybody and turn them into, if not a star, at least a solid player. And I know with the cuts that we had at training, there were a lot of questionable cuts. But at least he was able to bring Bosby back to practice squad, and hopefully he can stay there as depth. But if the offense doesn't get at least 10 wins, then people are going to start questioning it and saying, oh, if Vaughn were there or if Chubb was healthy and all this stuff. And I really don't want to hear that, because for the last couple of years, the defense they've done more than enough of their share. They brought a third world title to this team, so I believe that they deserve not a break, but cut them some slack. It's time for the offense to get up and ramping and, have that 2013 type of offensive season again.
So what are your predictions, both of you? What were you thinking?
I think 11-5. And that's bold, but that's what I think.
Yeah, that's bold. I was gonna say 10, but I'm gonna stick with that. Yeah.
10-6.
Yep.
I've been at 11-5. I think Vaughn's injury could be a game difference. I think no worse than 10-6. But I like the fact that it's going to put some pressure on the offense. I think Locke has shown that he's got the swagger and the confidence that he's not going to be scared at this moment. And we'll really see if he's the guy that we all think he is. We're all hoping he is, and I do believe that he is. I mean, what he did in Houston in that game, and even the personality that he was showing, and the if you watch those highlights and the pinpoint accuracy, I mean, he was really threading these needles. I mean, right off the bat, I mean, he's almost in the end zone. He's throwing a pass to Fant on the sideline.
Yeah,
I think he's going to step up to the moment, and the fact that Judy's there, and hopefully KJ can get his hamstring in order, and we can just keep sending him straight down the field and open things up. And if Cortland's in, back by, in action, they say perhaps by week 1, but, say by week 2, I think we can get past Tennessee with what we have, even if Cortland's out and with Vaughn out. I don't, they're, aside from Derrick Henry, who are they?
And AJ Brown. Is it?
But Ryan Tannehill is still a terrible quarterback. He really, to his credit, he did get back in. And
Brad Johnson with the Bucks.
Yeah.
What's up?
He's like Brad Johnson with the Bucks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
to not suck.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Tannehill is having an Osweiler season.
Yeah. Osweiler Broncos or Osweiler
Osweiler Broncos, Osweiler Texans.
Osweiler
Osweiler might be one of the best backups in the history of the NFL to date, and that's exactly what I think Tannehill is having. So you have to remember that not every quarterback has the exact same season back to back. So who knows? Maybe this year Tannehill stinks it up.
I need to correct you, Mix. He's one of the best paid backups.
Paid backups.
Thank you. Think back to when he started
in
in Miami. His first year wasn't bad, but then you kind of saw him second, third, and fourth year just kind of average out. So, he made the switch last year to the Texans or to the Titans, and new system, and it worked for him. But now it's not a new system. Now it's everyone's used to seeing him now. So how's he going to do?
Yeah, they have tape on him. Yeah, you're right.
But and with Vaughn not being on the defense this year, I still think that they're going to be. I think they're going to go from with Vaughn in there. I think they had a chance of being an elite defense. Maybe not like 2015, but like maybe 14 or 16. But without Vaughn, I think they'll still be a good defense or a great defense, just not an elite defense. So I still think we'll be top 10 in defense. I think maybe for the first game or two, there's going to be a little bit more pressure on the offense just to see how how Reed and Itachi do without having Vaughn in there and having Chubb in there limited amounts. But once they get past the first game or two, I think they'll be used to it. It it won't really affect much. I mean, obviously with Vaughn not being in there, it has an effect. But
Right.
as far as the defense go, I think we're just going from elite to great. So I still think we'll be fine. I've said all along 11-5, 12-4. I don't have my wand to point at you, but I'm gonna take off one game. I think that sometime in the season there's going to be a game where it's fourth quarter, 2-3 minutes left, we're down by 3, and that's when Vaughn was at his best, and we'll be able to close out the game and we get the offense back on, or we're up by 3 and he would take over and not let them, make a play on a sack or a fumble or something. So I think that not having him in there is going to cost us one game. So I'm thinking it's going to be 11-5, 10-6. But I still think that's playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who we also have that I can't remember the last time we had a player like him is Jarrell Casey.
Yeah.
He plays all types of action. I mean, they can line him up in at the tackle position. He's listed on the depth chart as an end. He's got certainly a bone to pick with
Tennessee.
the Titans. But just looking even past that game, I mean, the guy's a beast. He's 5 Pro Bowls in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing a clip of him talking to Belichick after a game, and Belichick just raving about him to his, it just he is. If he had gone down, I would have probably felt worse about the team than with the Vaughn injury, and that's no disrespect to Vaughn.
No, I agree with you.
Like last year, you look at how the team was without Chubb. We all thought it was going to be a terrible season without Chubb. But look at last year's cornerbacks. I mean, who was number 2? Behind Chris Harris Jr., who did we have? I mean, there really wasn't any good coverage. We didn't have, Bryce Callahan was out. Kareem Jackson was brand new to the team. He hadn't been there before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at what we have now. You've got Jarrell Casey on the front line. You've got Kareem Jackson in. You've got Bryce Callahan and A.J. Boye for cornerbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we have a more solid defense than we had last year. And last year, we were number 1 in the red zone. So, I mean, you've got to think that the loss of Vaughn hurts, but with the upgrades we've made in the other areas, that will be okay. And that's why I think we went from elite to great.
And don't forget, there's that secret weapon in S.A. Bassey that I have a feeling that Fangio might have seen something in him. And for him to have taken a spot away from a veteran, a rookie, that's gotta mean something. So I expect we might not see anything big from him on Monday, but it might be flashes here and there during the season.
Well, and we still haven't seen anything really from Michael O either. We don't really know what he's got either. So,
all right, Ojemudia.
If you've got Ojemudia that steps up and is playing like we think he should, you could have Boye, Callahan, Ojemudia, and you got Bassey playing at, those could be 4 starters right there.
The man that made Fangio smile. That's his right hand man.
So,
just going back to Bassey a little bit is
Mm-hmm.
what was amazing, just the turn of events with him. He was a highly touted, undrafted free agent, but then just those couple of days, he goes with the ones. Apparently has such a good practice that night they ship Yadam to the Giants
For a 7th round pick.
which is so great. And then that we even got anything for that win.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Or the used car lot guy. That's right. But and then we thought Bosby was going to be number 3, and he gets cut from the team. And fortunately, because the 4 of us all are fans of his, he comes back. But this Bassey kid is really, I mean, what an impression he made on on Vic and the front office, that they really retooled their defensive backfield just to make him happy, basically get him on the team.
Is it Donatel that's the DB coach?
Yeah.
He's a defensive
He's a defensive
Right,
coordinator.
but
He's
specializes
Fangio's
in
second back.
DBs though, right?
Yeah, that's
Fangio specializes in linebacker.
But But he
Yes.
knows all of Fangio's schemes and plays and everything. He was his right-hand man when they were in Chicago. So
Right. Well, and you got to think that Donatel is the one that kind of pushed for Bassie if he's the the DB guru. So you kind of wonder what he saw.
yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, we're due. Denver's been pretty lucky in finding these undrafted free agents. I mean, look at Philip Lindsay, and he was a Malik Reed, and this year hopefully it's S.A. Bassie. But I'm just going to go out on a limb and say if I could switch one guy from the main roster now to practice squad, I would put Devontae Harris in practice squad and bring in Bosby because I'm just a bigger fan of Bosby. I saw what Devontae Harris did last season, and it was okay, especially when he had to step in after Bosby got hurt against that game with the Chargers. But I don't think, even without me having to watch every single moment from training camp, I think that Bosby still offers more, even in depth, in terms of play and experience than Devontae Harris does. So I just don't know how he managed to even stay on the team. Question.
Okay, so we've talked about defense and how it looks after Von Miller.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that Denver has the better defense or the Titans have the better defense? I mean, I know the Titans have lost some starters on their defense, like obviously Jarrell Casey. They don't have Logan Ryan.
Nope.
But they did pick up like Jadeveon Clowney. They've got Vic Beasley. But they've got Vic Beasley on the depth chart behind Jadeveon Clowney because they play the same position, the weak side linebacker spot.
You know what? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just gonna say, and then there's like on the back end, there's Malcolm Butler, Kenny Vaccaro, and then your Adoree Jackson, who was pretty good for the other cornerback spot last year. So I just, do you see an upgrade over last year's Titans defense?
Somebody said it on social media, I believe it was last week, that there was a reason why Jadeveon Clowney lasted that long on the market before he finally got picked up. And even with guys like Clowney and Vic Beasley, I don't think that's enough to say that the defense can be a difference maker for Tennessee. I honestly think that they invested their money, all of their salary cap into the offense. They paid one of their offensive linemen, they paid Derrick Henry, they paid the quarterback, Tannehill, and it's like they took from the defense to give to the offense, and now the defense is trying to get by with scraps. And that, to me, it might not hurt them now, but it's something that can really hurt them later on in the future. So I honestly don't think, aside from our right tackle issue, maybe Clowney will probably get the best of it. But other than that, I want to say I think because I'm trying to be optimistic.
Well, I mean, you had in practice they only had Vic Beasley show up, I think, yesterday. And on Clowney only had like a day or two in practice too. So are they going to have them rotating back and forth? And how many snaps each are they going to get? I mean, with that position, the more you're in the game, the more you get in the flow, the better you do. So,
right.
I mean, are they even going to have an effect if they're rotating in and out that fast?
The Beasley situation is so odd. I mean, he's been a Titan for months.
There, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he just hasn't shown up. It's just so strange. No wonder. I mean, there's a reason the Falcons didn't retain him.
Yeah. Big reason why. But to your point, Glenn, something's fishy about that. And there wasn't a designated injury report. There wasn't nothing listed as to why he was absent. Maybe I thought maybe it's because he was holding out on money, but apparently it's not a money issue. So who only knows? And they might not even have enough time to get, used to the scheme that their defensive coordinator runs. So you could be looking at a catastrophe on the defense.
Right.
Let's hope so.
So we've got
Malcolm.
We've got Malcolm Butler. We've got Adoree Jackson. Do you have any question at all? And we'll just assume that Cortland Sutton's going to play. That we'll just assume that, even if he doesn't. Do you have any doubts that Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jr. are going to be able to beat Butler and Jackson? None at all.
I thought somebody else was going to go. That's why I didn't say anything.
Well,
I think
Adoree Jackson had an okay season last year, but and we have no idea, how Judy's going to look, and we don't know if it's going to be Jackson covering or if someone else on the slot. So, but I mean, you would think that with how well we were told that the wide receivers look in practice, that there's no way that two, I would say, normal cornerbacks are going to be able to cover.
Yeah, I honestly think Malcolm Butler hasn't been the same since he won that Super Bowl against Seattle. And I think to this day, I think there's a really big reason, another reason that was never told as to why he didn't play that Super Bowl against the Eagles. And to be honest with you, he hasn't really been that relevant ever since then. And I don't see their cornerbacks as a threat now to Dory Jackson and now Malcolm Butler. And don't get me wrong, I'm aware of what Butler did when he was with New England, and that's all. He got a ring for it and almost had another one. But I don't think that that's going to transfer over to whatever defensive scheme they're running in Tennessee. Even with Jerry Jeudy coming in as a rookie, his footwork is just beyond amazing. And I can't see either Jackson or Butler dealing with that. And one of those guys is going to get double teamed. If Sutton comes in and plays, he's going to get double teamed. One of the other is going to be open. So that's just the normal of it. And one of those wide receivers is going to have a really big game.
Well, and the Titans secondary is considered their strong part of their defense, which I kind of giggle at because I mean, just Sutton and then Jeudy and then you got Fant. There's three right there, and then you throw in Gordon and you throw in Lindsey, who obviously can catch the ball.
Right.
I don't understand how they match up.
I would start the game out with some long passes. I think that I would not start out with a run up the middle. I would, and don't downplay
end around the Fant. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked out so well last year every time.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't downplay Tim Patrick. I mean, that guy's got some serious size, comes down with the passes. That catch he made when Cortland threw the pass against the Vikings was just sick.
Yeah.
So I would just pray that Wilkinson can fend any of these guys off just for a second, but I would get some passes going big time right off the bat.
What about you, Chrissy? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say? I mean, the Titans, what they're gonna do is they're gonna try to rush Locke as much as they can when they're on the field, and so that's where they're gonna create as much noise or however you want to say it, against us, to try to force turnovers. So, I mean, their offense isn't great, but I think they're going to hone in on a lot of the weaknesses that we have. So we'll see how it plays out. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that their defense matches up with our offense.
Yeah.
So let's flip it around. What about their offense against our defense?
Well, when you looked at
or wait, did I say that wrong? I said that wrong. Flip that around.
Flip it, yeah.
Their offense against our defense.
Yeah.
When you looked at Derrick Henry in the playoffs, I mean, he was a one-man wrecking crew. It was. I mean, I particularly loved it because he beat the Patriots, but that.
Yeah, that was a win for America.
But in the game that Christy referenced as a 16-0 shutout, he had under 30 yards rushing. And that was actually, ironically enough, that was the game where Tannehill came in for a benched Mariota. So there's some recent history between these two teams that's pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if we can get a good rush on Tannehill and force them to have to just run Henry the whole time, I think that our big line, Casey.
You got
Purcell,
Casey versus Henry.
That
Casey,
line is
Purcell,
scary, man.
Shelby is just, I mean, that's a lot of beef on that line.
That's a lot of beef coming right at you. You're right,
Well,
Glenn.
like,
Totally
you
agree.
know, I think that Vaughn is a underrated run stuffer. So I think linebacking wise, I think that's going to be more a point of emphasis. You know, with the secondary we have, you'd think they could just let the receivers go, let the secondary cover it. Don't worry about having a linebacker drop out unless they need to cover a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
But with Derrick Henry honestly being the only offensive weapon that they have that we can't
Right.
cover with the secondary, you would think they would be able to zone in just on Henry and make him throw it. Because Tannehill, I don't care what you say, is not that good.
He's not.
He's just not.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you saw what happened with them
Trent
against the
Dilfer in
Chiefs.
Baltimore.
We got a Brad Johnson and a Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
Both the same though, aren't they?
You saw what they did against the Chiefs last year, and that was a game that the Titans should have won because they had the better defense than Kansas City, but they let Patrick Mahomes just have a field day. And after the Titans had a Cinderella-like postseason, knocking out the former champion Patriots and knocking out the number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens, Jarrell Casey getting to Lamar Jackson like no one else could all of 2019 was just beyond amazing. So my hopes and feelings for Jarrell Casey, I believe he can get to any quarterback, no problem.
No, I will say that the wide receivers that the Titans have, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, and Adam Humphries, those are 3 really good receivers.
Yeah.
They could cause issues, especially depending on who that third cornerback is for the Broncos, that it could cause issues. But I don't really see a 3 wide receiver set all that often on the field during the game.
Corey Davis is definitely the weak link of that trio.
You think? I figured it was Humphries.
Well, Humphries hasn't even gotten that much play time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's been hurt. But I mean, you got like Corey Davis is questionable, but I mean, I don't know.
He hasn't lived up to his draft.
No, he hasn't. You're right.
But
He
AJ
hasn't.
Brown. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a scary. Wow. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, AJ Brown. Yeah, he's.
We have AJ on AJ. We need our AJ to handle their.
I mean, honestly, you could put Bryce Callahan on AJ Brown. I still think he'd be covered just as well. I mean, I don't think there's that big of a gap between Bryce Callahan and AJ Boye.
Yeah, AJ Brown
How do you
might be
know?
seeing a lot of double team. And we have 2 really good safeties in Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons to keep AJ Brown in check. So if they can limit the damage in terms of not giving up those big catch plays, I think the Broncos defense will be fine.
Well, and you could see him, doubling the number 1 wide receiver, let Corey Davis kind of do one-on-one, and then have some help underneath with Humphries or whatever tight end that they release out.
Right. Good
Right.
points. Good points.
Nothing like patting ourselves on the back, right?
Right.
I know it's because we talked about it all because we're just amazing.
We're that good.
I definitely
should
think that our defense will get the better of their offense. I don't. There's just like when you look at the Titans defense, other than Jadeveon Clowney, Malcolm Butler, Kenny Vaccaro, and Adoree Jackson, I don't recognize anybody's name. So I can't say that they're going to be amazing because I don't know. I mean, they were okay last year. They weren't like Denver good, but if the offense plays the way that it should, I don't foresee there being a problem.
I'm telling you, it's the media. They're knocking down Denver just because Von Miller got hurt. And all of a sudden, Denver's defense is no good. Denver's going to have a crappy season. So that's just all the media blowing it up. And we as Broncos country, we have to look past that, not pay attention to it, and trust that Drew Lock can go out there and score some points. Trust that the defense can go out there and sack Tannehill, get a pick six, do what they're paid to do. And as long as we keep that going, we'll be fine.
Okay, so give me a prediction for the game. What do you think? What do you think the end's going to be?
Final score?
Yeah, final score.
What did I say? I said this previously. I think it's going to be like 38-14 Denver.
Holy crap. Okay.
I was thinking more like 24, 16, Denver.
I think the Broncos defense gets 4 turnovers.
Beautiful.
I think Casey has 2 sacks and a forced fumble. I think Drew Lock has 3 touchdown passes, and Phillip Lindsay has a rushing touchdown, and the Broncos win 31-20.
Nice.
I had 24-21 Broncos. Just because I don't know how. Once I see how they handle Derrick Henry, then I'll know how the game's going to go. But they do have, what was it, like 18 to 20 returning starters from last year, including the offensive line. So they do have a good offensive line.
Yeah.
So I think depending on how we handle the run with Derrick Henry will determine how the game's going to end. Like if he busts one right at the beginning, number one, I'm going to be really mad. And number two, you kind of have to adjust what you think the end score is going to be. I mean, I'm hoping that they're going to hold Henry to, I want to say, like, I'd be happy with 75 yards. Like, keep him under 100, let him run a little bit, but don't let him go nuts. And I just, Ryan Tannehill maybe 200 yards, 220 yards throwing, maybe a touchdown or two. I don't see much happening.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
So what about the Denver's offense? I mean, Glenn thinks that he's going to throw for 85,000 yards in the season, and I mean, do we have a 200-yard game, 300-yard from Locke? Do we have like a 200-yard, 300-yard, 700-yard, 900?
I think over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'll roll with that.
At least 1 interception, but
yeah, but I can
okay.
see
So
with
the dual share running back, who's going to have more yards? Lindsay or
I think Lindsay.
Lindsay.
I have a feeling that they'll use Gordon more as a red zone back.
Yeah.
I think Gordon has more yards, but Lindsay scores a touchdown.
See, I was going to think the opposite. Like Lindsay would have more yards, Gordon would have more scores.
Yeah. Interesting.
Red zone.
Yeah, but keep in mind that the Titans last year did stop Melvin Gordon 2-3 times in the end zone and kept them from scoring and winning.
But they don't have Jarrell Casey anymore.
I know they don't, but I'm just saying, just keep that in mind.
Okay, so we all think Denver's going to win. Some are a little crazy and think that they're going to win by a lot. But how do you see the rest of the AFC West playing out? Obviously, we've got the Chiefs playing the Texans Thursday. So do you have Chiefs or do you have Texans?
Sorry, I hit myself so hard I unplugged my mic. That's how excited I am.
Wait till week 2, folks.
Chiefs or Texans? Who do you think wins that game?
Well, considering we're recording this the same day that the show is that the game is going to be, I can picture Mundungus adjusting. Let's watch his lips. If he adjusts his pick to
like
reflect what actually happened in the game. But I mean, how do you go against the Chiefs? I mean,
as much as I hate to say it, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see him lose, but I don't think that the Texans defensively have the necessary playmakers to stop Mahomes and company. So, forbidding an injury to either team, I say Chiefs.
Okay. Raiders and Panthers. And
Christy, who did you have?
Hit yourself in the face this time. Christy, who'd you have on Chiefs and Texans?
The Chiefs. Yeah.
Okay, Raiders and Panthers.
Right now.
That's. I was actually thinking about that while I was filling out my confidence pool sheet. I actually went with the Raiders. I think that Derek Carr is going to have a better game than Teddy Bridgewater because nobody, aside from run CMC, nobody knows what that offense is going to look like, and Unless I know the Raiders defense is still not great to this day, but I just have a feeling that the Raiders they have more talent on their side than Carolina does. So I say Raiders.
I'm
never
going
gonna
with the
pick
Panthers.
Raiders. Sorry.
What's that?
Ooh,
I said I'm
Chrissy
never-
goes Raiders.
No, I said I'll never pick the Raiders to win.
Trust me, I don't like
Even
saying
if
it
I think
either,
they
but
will, no.
I don't like saying it either. It leaves a foul taste in my mouth, but they're gonna win a game eventually.
I'm going Panthers for the same reason. I would never, at least unless it's just too obvious. But I can't pick them. I mean, come on.
I'm going to go with Panthers too, but I think it's going to be more because of Teddy Bridgewater. I love how he looks. He looked great last year. I'm excited to see what he does.
Well, I love what he did against the Bears.
I mean, you got two people that can run right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
DJ Moore.
I'm going Panthers too.
Yeah, no faith in Kyle Allen. Huh?
And then we got the Los Angeles Fakers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Who you got on that one?
See, that's a toughie. You would think that the Bengals are terrible. They have a rookie quarterback starting. They
got AJ Green back though this year now.
But they have AJ Green. The Chargers are just. I mean, people are still picking them for the playoff spot. I just don't understand.
I wouldn't go that far. If they make it in a playoff, it'll be because of a wild card and because of that defense, even without Derwin James.
You never know.
I do think the Chargers will win. Too. Yeah, I do think the Chargers will win this week, but I'm hoping Cincinnati's able to pull off an upset at home.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with Glenn. As much as I hate to say it, I think the Chargers sneak a win through. But if Cincinnati if Joe Burrow can go out there and embarrass that defense, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And when you say that defense, you mean Chris Harris Jr. We want him to look that.
Yeah, I want AJ Green to just run circles around that guy.
Yeah.
And have him look around and blame somebody else.
What are your predictions, both of you?
Chrissy, who you got?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I concur with both of them. That sounds pretty good to me.
All right.
I'm not excited about that.
I'm going with the Bengals.
Bold. I like that.
Right? Just because I hate the Chargers worse than I hate the Raiders.
I hate all three teams equally.
I don't know how Tyrod Taylor's going to do. I mean,
nobody
last year they were talking about how the Browns were going to be so awesome and amazing, and then they started Tyrod Taylor.
Yep. And then he got hurt.
And now they're talking about the Chargers and how awesome and amazing they're going to be, and they started Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the Bengals. I think
they're starting Tyrod because have you seen Justin Hebert on Hard Knocks? Yikes.
Yeah. Talk about
he's got his moments though, but I mean every rookie's like that. I mean,
just let me take some shots at the opposing team. Come on now.
No, go ahead. I was trying to think of like an example, but I couldn't think of one. I still got nothing. I was going to say Josh Rosen, but that didn't turn out very well, so don't do that.
No, somehow we need to capture Don
Sam Darnold. There. Sam Darnold. He didn't
somehow we need to
camp either.
Go ahead, Glenn. I want to hear this.
I was going to say we need to capture Don, a slow-mo of him hitting himself to the point where his headphones pop off and somehow incorporate that into the opening of our next show.
I can do that.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can, but you'll have to edit it out because I said a swear word as it happened, and I don't know if it got caught on audio.
Oh, it did. I heard it. I just skipped right past it.
Thank you.
But I totally can add that in. So, like,
for the record, that was unintentional. That was unintentional.
Show it right before he picks the Raiders to win.
Well, I was going to say, like, so when you watch the intro and it's got the pictures of the four of us on there, I'm going to take 6'10's picture off and put him smacking himself in the face.
You should put the sword noise to it when he hits his head.
Yeah. I cut my cord in half. Give the people what they want to see, Mundungus.
So I think at this time we should probably mention to people that the pod is actually going to be a live pod every Thursday at 6 Eastern, 4 Mountain. and 3 Pacific. So you notice how I left the Central out of there? 5 Central.
I said
And so we'd love for you to join us on YouTube, Mile High Roundtable. We're going to have comment section so you can join in the fun. But it's going to be a live version.
Hit that little bell thing that notifies you when we post or when we're on. So
Absolutely.
make sure you do that. And then you can also make sure that you follow us on Twitter. We are at MHRT Podcast. I popped it right up on there. So make sure you follow us on Twitter. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications on YouTube. And again, like Glenn said, we will be. What are you doing?
I was pointing to the thing.
We will be going live every Thursday at 5 Central.
I'm a weird guy. Leave me alone.
We got to get him a helmet for next week.
You can borrow mine if I find it.
Good luck.
If he
trying
picks
to
the
find
Raiders
it in
helmet,
my head.
he's out.
Yeah, Raiders.
I just
We'll
gotta
give him a
wait
Raiders helmet.
Glenn smacks himself and then tell him he's got to put the barrel on. All right, so
Love
that
it, man.
for today. You're gonna be listening to this on Saturday, but we recorded it on Thursday. So predictions might be a little off, but we don't care. We're gonna post it anyways. So make sure you're paying attention and watching on Thursdays. Go ahead and leave us a comment. Follow us on Twitter. Ask us questions there if you want to. We'll try to incorporate them into the podcast when we do, and we will make sure that we see you all next week.